Hi guys, hope you all are doing very well, keeping safe in these corona times. We thought we'll bring to you an interesting series, right? So it's about Mohanji through the eyes of Preethi Gopalarathnam. So if I were to describe her, what would it be? What are these things that come to my mind? I would call her a rock star. I
Oh,
would call her a wonder woman for the multiple things, that she's been doing. But I don't think any amount of adjectives will do any justice to the dynamic personality that she is. Honestly. So if you think of a spiritual person, you always visualize somebody who's a very serious soul, right? She is just the opposite. Absolutely opposite. She's loads of fun to be around. And she's a very integral part of the Mohanji family. So whether you need optimism, you need advice, you need that scolding once in a while for the push to do the right things, she is the go-to person. If nothing, even if you've had a long day and you need those kind words and you need a good laugh, I think she's absolutely the go-to person. So that's how I look at Preeti, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who will actually agree with me. So yes, Preeti, absolutely a rock star from my eyes. So we would like to know more about you. So this is what we know now, but I'm sure there was a Preeti much before she found Mohanji.
first of all, thank you so much for having me here and making me feel so important, Meenakshi. And I mean, your introduction made me literally cry. I'm not joking. It was very beautiful, and I don't know if I am all the things that you've said, but I feel your heart and lots of love to you. And thank you so much for being so kind. And if any of my school friends or my college friends, those who are watching here also would, I mean, the last thing they'd say is I was either religious or spiritual. That was just not me at that time. So that's the irony, and that's the fun. Even now, I think that's fun because I guess I got to explore a part of me which was very much there right from the beginning. I'll explain to you why. But because I all of those background, this whole the fun loving bit, and then speaking your mind bit, and trying to find yourself bit, and all. Actually, all of that made me who I am today. So yeah, so I looking back, I really I think I've had a lovely life. I've enjoyed my life.
That's exciting. And in fact, I mean, in my eyes, probably if I had to visualize, that's the Preeti I would see.
Okay.
And as you speak, there's a glint in your eyes. So I can absolutely visualize the different things you would have done. And like you said, bumming around was so much fun. I can absolutely visualize that. So how would your friends, if your friends had to describe you, say in a word, how would they describe you?
Fun loving, the opposite of serious. And I'll be honest with you, I mean, my school friends and college friends, the few I've met, are like, how did you end up getting into spirituality? And you're like, now we can see you on Facebook, you're following a master. How, Preeti, how? What are you doing here? What are you doing this role? And I mean, I can understand. I laugh with them and I say, I know, right? I don't know what I'm doing here, but that's how it is.
Yeah,
Um,
so Preeti, yeah. So what are you doing, and how do you do all this? Where did it all start?
Okay, so actually it's pretty interesting. So I was in college, and then I moved into to kind of I got my first job, and in the first 6 months of my work, I ended up with jaundice.
Hmm.
So work for me was pretty tough. I mean, at least that point of time, because I had a boss who was like really strict, and we worked like long hours. And in the middle, I just ended up with jaundice.
Hmm.
So he was extremely kind. Then he said, "Take a break, take a month, but just lie down and get yourself." Get your tummy and your liver and everything all right, and then you join back. Now the thing was, I've never had such a serious thing like jaundice. So basically, I didn't realize that you'd be really, really tired. So I was actually lying down in bed the whole day and absolutely nothing to do. And this is around 2003 I'm talking about. So 2003, early 2004. So actually, not even 2004. It was 2003. So this is the time when we didn't have phones. You didn't have the kind of. We probably had a few cable channels. That's about it. So for me, it's really bored. And I was in this one room which had my mom's book cupboard, and full of spiritual books. And that's like the joke in the house. People, my friends would come home and they would look at Ramana Maharishi's photo, or they'd look at Kanchi Periyava's photo, and they'd be like, "Is this your grandfather? Is this your grandmother? Is this your maternal grandfather, paternal grand?" Because there were so many pictures of masters, but they didn't touch me. I'll be honest with you. So for them, for me, while I grew up as a part of this, and I knew that masters exist and things like that, it didn't like I didn't have a special connect with them. Of course, I was connected to Shirdi Sai Baba, but that too in a very, he's a grandfatherly person, right? So anybody can kind of connect to him. So that was just about it. But this, coming back to the bookshelf, I said, okay, let's pick up a book and read. And it was all spiritual, Vivekananda's entire series. You had Ramana Maharishi's series, and, Ganesh Puri Baba series and all of that. And I was like, oh my God. And out of this, there was this one book called Autobiography of a Yogi. And I've heard my mom, my uncles, my aunts and all talking a lot about this book, and they were talking among themselves and saying how it's really nice and all. So I said, let's just see what exactly this book is. So I picked up that book, and then I said, just in case this book is boring, let's look out for one more book which we can pick up. And then I picked up this other book called Living with the Himalayan Masters by Swami Rama. So these were the two books that I've read, and I've been like the usual type, reading Sidney Sheldon and those kind of books. And for me, this was the first self-help, or so to speak, non-fiction book which I was reading. So I didn't have a choice, couldn't move out of the house, so I picked this book and I came and promptly sat down. And when I started with the Autobiography of a Yogi, something about that book was, it almost felt like a fiction book. It was unputdownable. I was just skimming the pages and saying, wow, this is like an alternative reality. You're talking about a life, where, there are various saints, and they're giving their life to, finding themselves, and, liberation, and, all of that was like, it for me, look at my background and look at the bumming around I've done, and, and also like only now like looking at life a little seriously. And I'm like thinking, this is like, what life is this? I mean, what world are they talking about, But there was something very exciting in it also. There was, I'll be honest with you, I was also quite drawn to the whole thing. And that book I completed in probably a few days, day and night. I must have read that book. And in that entire book, the one thing, if you ask me, that really caught my attention was this 16-year-old master who had arrested his, his body, and at the age of 16, after which he was immortal. So for me, somebody who's around 21, 22 years old, I thought like there are so many people, Krishna and Rama to me were they more like, they were idols, right? And of course you hear their stories and you connect with emotionally to them. But this was like somebody living who could actually, who's actually showing me a human kind of, quality. So something about Mahavatar Babaji kind of drew me to him a lot. I said, wow, if there was a living God, it could be this. I would like to meet this person, kind of thing. And that was with the 21-year-old naivety and childishness. And I put that book down and I said, wow, this is really amazing. No wonder, my mad family is like so into spirituality. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff in this also, is what I thought. And then I picked up this other book, and by Swami Rama. Once again, very different. It talks about yoga and things like that. And for me, yoga was pretty boring because you do early in the morning. That's the way. That's the way the old younger Preethi was looking at it. Is like very slow, very boring kind of a thing. And this person could actually arrest his vital force using yogic, breathing and using yoga. This is completely, it blew my mind. I said, wow, you could do all these cool things. You could walk on water. You could do all these cool things. And I said, what is this? What life is this? And in that, there was a reference once again to the 16-year-old master who was eternal. The same, Babaji, who was there in the Himalayas, who could actually get into a physical body and kind of, literally apparate at will, and who could go to different places at different times. And for me, that I still had that sense that if two different people from different groups, and I did my research. I thought I was very smart. I said, okay, are they from the same group? Are they from the same like spiritual organization and all of that? And when I realized that they were from two different groups and different even time, so to speak, time space, I said, okay, this person is real. So something in me had this finality to say, there is this guru who is actually godlike, closest that I can say to a living God, and he exists in life. And that was the twist I had with a little bit of spirituality. And then I promptly forgot all about it because jaundice became okay, and then I went back to work. I started taking my career a little seriously. So many things to do. Was very pretty ambitious because then as you say, you start moving into a thing wherein you say, okay, I'm a woman, I have to prove myself. I have to prove that I can do things that I can't. More so if you have a background of bumming around. So I went into that kind of phase in my life, and the next few years was all about trying to prove myself, making a career out of it, and all of that. And occasionally, I would try to do some research on Babaji. I would try to find out about the Kriya Yoga path and things like that. And what I realized was the more I did research, I realized there were various paths, and each path was kind of trying. For each path, they seem to be the most genuine, and they seem to be the direct kind of lineage. And I didn't know which was right for me, which was wrong for me. So I remember this one particular time when I actually told myself, boss, this I don't know which is right for me. I mean, there are three things, and all three of them are not only saying they are right, they're all saying the other person's wrong. So how will I know? What will I know? I mean, how will I know which one's good for me? So I actually connected to Babaji, and I closed my eyes, and I connected to Babaji, and I said, you know what, Babaji, I find you very endearing. I think there's something about you. I mean, I've always spoken to him as a friend, and I still do, though his form's changed now. But something about you is so is attracting me a lot, and I want to learn this Kriya Yoga. But I don't know what's the right path. And if you honestly ask me to choose, I know my capacity, and I think I'm not capable of it. So if you think Kriya is right for me, you show me the right Kriya path. And not only that, I mean, can you imagine? Like, imagine this 22-year-old woman saying, not only that, you should make me feel from inside that this is the right path. How? It should flow naturally. It should be the most natural thing that has happened. And I've done this challenging a couple of times to Babaji. Now it's like a little funny. But, there have been 2-3 times in my life that I've told him, I don't know, you should come and it should happen naturally. From inside, I should know that, this is the right thing for me. And every time, Meenakshi, this has happened, I've actually asked him something. And I've done that only 2-3 times in my life. You turn to God, they say, only when you are desperate, right? So the 2-3 times in my life that I've been really, really desperate, I've actually turned to Babaji, and he's answered it literally within a month every single time. Except Kriya, which came to me later. So after my second daughter's delivery, I ended up with a lot of physical ailments, and I ended up with what was called gout, and also I had this. I've never had wheezing and things like that, and I started developing wheezing during my pregnancy. So I was actually looking at ways to kind of try to holistic ways to heal myself. Because since you are nursing your child is really small, you can't go into the tradition, the typical allopathy, stream and have, strong medicines because, of that. So I actually, started reading books like Heal Your Life and, and other energy healing modalities and actually, and I found some very beautiful healing techniques. And that's when I understood this whole mind-body connection. So I started understanding, okay, what's in your mind is manifesting later on in your body, and there is a connect between your emotions, your mind, and your body, and all of that. So once again it opened. I mean, I've always been like a child. I think I've never grown up. So it opened another new world for me, and it was like, oh my God, this is like a new world, and I'm seeing things in new light. And I actually started healing myself. I healed myself of gout, and I also met some lovely, healers. And one of them, a very dear friend, actually said, she knew about Babaji, and she said, you know what, I found my guru, and and she was connected to Shirdi Sai Baba. She said, my guru is not only connected to Shirdi Sai Baba, but he's also connected to Babaji. So,
That's what you mentioned.
I said, wow, anywhere there's a mention of Babaji, I would always, my eyes would light up. So I said, wow, I would love to meet your guru. Now, around 3 weeks, or no, not even 2 to 3 weeks back from this conversation I had with my friend, there was this span of time in my life when everything was working well. I had two small children. My husband was doing well for himself. He had his own startup, and he was traveling. We were everything was, all boxes were getting ticked. Meenakshi, I mean, it was like a typical ideal life that you can have, where you're settling down and getting into a family life and things like that. And I read this book. I read one of these books. When I'm alone, what happens? I put the kids to sleep, and then since Madhu's not there, you end up reading something, to pass the time. So I read this book. I think one book which I'm not sure which one it is, but there was once again a mention of Mahatma Babaji in that book, and very deep, and that book kind of really touched me quite a bit. I think it was a book on Sri M or something. And end of that book, I read that book, and by the end of the book, when I closed that book, I had a deep sadness which I connected to. And I had known, by then I had known this bit about emotions. If you feel emotions, just release it. Don't, I mean, the last thing that you should do is ignore it. So I felt this deep sense of sadness, like I'm losing something in life. And my mental mind could not connect to what it was, because everything was perfect otherwise. We were financially okay. I had a good family. My parents were happy. My in-laws were good. I had a good support system. So I didn't know what it was, but there was a deep sadness which I've connected to. So I went to this puja room of us, and we were Vaishnavites. So there's a lot of Krishna and the various avatars pictures. And right down there is this one photograph that was there of Mahavatar Babaji. So I just went there, sat, looked at him, and I howled. This like, and I just like cried. I don't know from where it was. Like I would now look back and say probably my soul was releasing something. It was like trying to say please. And then and that time once again I spoke to Babaji, and I said, Babaji, probably you're very high level. Probably I'm not in the state where somebody at your level can speak to me. Probably I won't even get it. Because at that time I started meeting people who could speak to masters and things like that. And somewhere down you feel, yeah, what is wrong in us that, why are these guys not coming and talking to us? And then once again it hits you, you end up saying, okay, because you're not probably worthy of it or something like that. So I said, but I love you and I'm connected to you. That I know, and I know it's coming from within. So if it's not possible for you to speak to me, get me somebody. Let me find somebody, and you use that person to speak to me. Why can't you do that? That's possible. I've read it in all these books, and I'd read that Shriyam book, and it said the same thing. So why can't you at least send me somebody like that? Because my urge is very, very deep, and I from what I understand, my limited understanding, it's coming from deep within. So a lot of tears happened, all kinds of bawling happened. Thankfully, nobody was there in the house except the kids. And then I felt a lot of relief. I came out. I remember so well. I opened the laptop. I googled Mahavatar Babaji, and I just read this thing about this one, one master who's in Dubai, and who had this. I read a few blogs about his connections and his experiences with Babaji. It was pretty nice. And that was the first thing I opened. I did this prayer, opened the laptop, and this is what I read. It was pretty nice, but when I read that he was in Dubai, I said, yeah, now Abhi, where I'm going to go to Dubai. So very disappointed, closed this. And then, okay, flashback over. 3 weeks later, my friend says, my master is a Sai Baba thing, and he's very deeply connected to Baba. Why he's connected to Babaji also, why don't you meet him? I said, yes, why not? And then within a week she calls me and she says, by the way, my master is actually coming to Bombay. If you feel you'd like to meet him, you can meet him. I was like, of course I'll meet him, yeah. I mean, what do I do? And she gave me a number, and and she told me to connect and all of this. And I had not made this connect, but the person I was going to meet is the same person I had read about 3 weeks back.
Wow.
Why? So I had not made that connect. It took me some time to actually make that connect, because then when I researched about him and all of that, I said, oh my God, I've read this. And then I called her and said, your master is the same person who said, Babaji is not a person, but he's a state. He's a state and consciousness. She said, I don't know, because I read only the experiences of Shirdi Sai Baba in there. But yeah, he's capable of saying something like that. That I know. That's what she said. I was very eager, and I mean, I read up the whole Babaji 1, Babaji 2, all the blogs on him. And then it was actually pretty funny. I'm going to share this with you. So it was like, for me, it was not Mohanji there, okay, because I was going to meet Mohanji. It was all about Babaji speaking through Mohanji. So it's going to be, I was like this, 18-year-old girl, going to, probably going to meet, or going on going to meet somebody very interesting or something. So I'm having all these weird things about how Babaji will come and come through Mohanji and will talk and will actually say, oh my child, I found you at last. Total drama. And, I'm thinking I'll go there and, I'll probably, I'll go there and I'll have this eureka moment, because that's what all the books say, right? When you meet that master and when the master speaks through you, I mean, you have this eureka moment and you feel, there's a soul's call and pull and all of that. And my mind's going all over the place. Total drama is happening. And I'm very excited and I am like restless and all of that. And I told Madhu that time that I want to go to meet this person. And he's to just give you a little bit of perspective about my husband. For him, it's about he always follows. He's a rule player. If I'm a rule breaker, he's a rule player. So for him, probably God and spirituality would be, I would say, pretty religious, in the sense he would follow all the rules, and would light the diya and say the slokas, and that kind of a personality. And while he did read the autobiography of the yogi and the Himalayan Master's book, more so because I was like going on and on about it, and while he was like really interested in it and all of that, but he was not like exactly coming here looking for somebody. So he said, you know what, I've had a bad day at work, let me also come with you. So that's how he joined me. And I was pretty like, I was like quite shocked, because I was not expecting him to come with me, because he's always been like, you follow your path, whatever gives you happiness, as long as you're happy and you're not troubling me, I'm really, really happy for you. So that's how it was. And so it so happened that we both went to meet him. Even there, sometimes there are these tests. So we had to come back in a couple of hours, because my in-laws were going to the US. And it so happened that when we went there, Mohanji was having some pain in some parts. So there was this chiropractor, or this, person who was coming to actually work on him. So we had to wait for quite some time. And there was a long queue. There were 2-3 people who were waiting, after which we had to meet. And we had to leave. There was a time in which there was only half an hour left and I had to leave. So we were thinking, I don't think we'll be able to meet her only today. And so it so happened that we said, let's try. And we asked this guy who was waiting even before us for a long time to meet Mohanji, we need to go in the next half an hour. Is it okay if I, jump the line and, and meet him first, because we have this problem? And this guy said, go ahead. I'm listening to this experience this person is talking about, and I want to listen to it. So please go ahead. And we couldn't believe our luck, because if somebody would have told us this, we'd be like, when you're waiting for some 3 hours, I don't know how we would have reacted then, at least. Now it's a different story. So, so we actually, last minute rush, we got to meet him. And you won't believe it, Meenakshi. I met him, I saw his face, and that's it. I went blank. Can you believe it? All that drama I was thinking in my mind of what all I would do, and how he would, and how Babaji would speak to me, completely blank. I'm like looking at him and I'm like, absolutely nothing, no thought, nothing's happening. And I'm like, blank. And it so happens that my quiet husband ends up being very chatty. And he's asking him questions after question after question. And Mohanji is very kindly, very like with a lot of, patience, answering all the questions that he's had. And then in the end, I said, okay, now time is up. Literally, I have to say something. So I went and I said, I'm deeply connected to, Babaji. I said, okay. And then I had like tears in my eyes and I said, I don't know what happens to me when I hear about Babaji. I got very emotional. And then he just looked at me very, very, very calmly. I mean, like with a lot of kindness. And he said, somebody like Babaji, the stature that, Babaji has, uh, we can't decide to call him and speak to us. If he decides to speak to you, he will come and speak to you. He said, and then I was like, literally like that. And then for 2 minutes, I once again blank. Then it hit me. I never told him I wanted to speak to. These are all my drama, my stories, right? I mean, Babaji will come and speak to me. Babaji will come and I didn't tell Mohanji any of that. And it hit me later, But that entire exercise was I was pretty. I was quiet, and Madhu did all the talking. We said bye. He gave us a couple of chocolates, and then we left. So I remember sitting in the car, and I remember looking at Madhu and saying something very warm and nice about him, right? And he said, "Yeah, I agree." I said, "I don't know if he's my guru or something like that, because I mean, he felt like really somebody like a friend, like somebody very warm, somebody you could connect to instantly. But I don't know if he's guru or something like that. That was the thought of the ignorant me at that time. And we went and we went, and it so happened that at that time they told us there was a 1 week program by the end of this year, which was happening in Rishikesh, and there was 2014 Kailash also happening. I think I met in one of the volunteers place in Bombay. Something about Kailash once again connected me. I've heard so many stories about this, and I've heard stories about these devis coming and having a bath in the middle of the night, and all of that was like I wanted to experience it for myself. But I realized in 3 months, if this was happening, it was a lot of money. I realized it's not going to happen now. So I said, let's do something together. If Madhu comes, let's go for the Rishikesh pilgrimage. Now it so happened that that was our 10th anniversary. So when I shared this with Madhu, I said, let's go for this program. My friends were also coming. So I said, let's go here. And he said, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this spiritual getaway? Because I don't want to hear it all my life that I'm taken to some place like this. And in fact, he was like, because I'm not very sure. Generally, these kind of things, I'm more comfortable. I mean, are you sure? So I said, no, I think this will be really interesting. It'll be something different. Something about it, made me feel that I had to go for this session. And then he said, you know what, Preethi, I'm not very sure that I would be doing this. Let's see. And we set aside. But it so happened, Meenakshi, that we went for this retreat. And
Both of you.
Both of us. And I remember on the day of our anniversary, we actually got to meet Mohanji. Like we said, we requested time and we met Mohanji. And I remember this is what he said. He said, everybody comes together, like couples come together. They build a family. They have children. They have, they build a house. Then they build a bigger house. And then they get their children educated, married, and they become old and they die. This is what happens in life all the time with all couples. I wish that you guys, my blessings to you all is that you all do something different. While you do all of these things, also do more for the world, live for the world, give back to the world more than you can, you're taking from the world, because then life becomes enriching. And at that time, when he blessed us like that, it sounded really nice. I mean, who will not like to do something which is, something not only which is enriching for ourselves, but also for the world. But looking now at my life, I think we're exactly in that space, Meenakshi. And every single thing that either whether Babaji has said it or later on Mohanji has said it, um, you know, um, I've prayed for, I've been blessed with. Every single time it's happened. I can see the grace happening like this. This is just two incidents. There are so many incidences like this which has happened in my life, where something I childishly desire and it becomes a reality, and the Guru makes it possible. So if you ask me, going back to your first question, the Preeti then and Preeti now, I think while there is a difference in focus, now it's more about trying to find myself and what makes me happy and what's giving me purpose and all of that. Uh, both has been a lot of fun because I don't think I'm the kind of person who will take up a journey where there's no fun and where there's no drama and there's no ups and downs in life. So I see them as a connecting thread in my life. But I can say a life more is much more meaningful now. I feel used in a very good way now, probably, and I think I'm loving it.
Brilliant. This was like I felt you narrating it, but I was with you at every juncture, every time that you said you laughed, you cried, you giggled, or whatever, you just went blank. I was with you, and I could so and knowing Mohanji, I have felt all of that, and he is that person, right? He's a very warm, fuzzy, loving person, and it's so instant, it's so beautiful with him, right? It's just that instant connect,
Correct.
and absolutely no jargons, nothing. He will not. I mean, it's like talking to you, right? The way I'm having a conversation with you is just
Exactly.
like that, and it's
Exactly.
beautiful, right?
Exactly.
So absolutely, lovely, Preeti. I just love this, and like I said, I was with you through all of it.
Lovely.
So, what I would like to know is now we know there are so many masters, right? Like you said, even at your place, also people are very spiritual. Folks are very spiritual. There are so many books. So, at what point did that realization dawn that he's the one, or he's your guru, and not just any other master?
Meenakshi, this is a very nice question because, when you don't have a master and you find a master, you're starting with a clean slate. But when you're already having a master as a concept in your head, it's a lot more difficult for you because you're looking you're already having a frame, and then you're trying to take this frame and trying to put it everywhere else, and it will not. Each frame is unique, right? If I have a master who is not in the body, and if I'm looking for a living master, for example, it's very difficult because that master is unique, and this master is in the now, and he's unique. So for me, thankfully, because it was Babaji and I had not met him, nor had I heard a lot about him, I understood that he had superhuman powers, supernatural powers, and all of that. But I'll be on. I mean, first I'll answer your question on when I got to know that this was the guru for me. Let me go there. So this entire trip that I spoke to you about, where we went to Rishikesh and it was Madhu's and I mean, it was a very interesting thing. That's also the time when Kriya happened. So as you know, we went there uh,
Oh,
to have a different experience for our 10th anniversary. Okay, so both of us went, and there's going to be a master. He's fun. I mean, we've realized he's not exactly very religious. He's and he's pretty powerful, and he's known for his genes and simplicity and things like that. So I was actually looking forward to a different holiday for your 10th wedding anniversary. And the entire trip was really intense because you get up early in the morning, and the first day they tell you there is this water therapy. You drink water and early in the morning, and then you do yoga. Now that's also the time I actually met Sanjay sir, a beautiful human being who's no longer with us today, but somebody who's like really connected deep for both me as well as for Madhu. So and yoga was very intense, and then we would go to all these beautiful places, all power centers, and all of these masters had some connection or the other with Babaji. It's really interesting. Very powerful masters, that places that we would go to, and from the beginning, some of the things that to me, this is I'm explaining this whole thing not as Preeti, the disciple of Mohanji, but more as Preeti, who has had the first experience with a master. So for me, what was really shocking was here was this master who's coming with us, and at every temple, at every master's place, he would be the first to put his head down. So that was like, I was like, wow. I mean, there is no airs about I am the master, I and this person is one. You know, it was not there. So that immediately broke a lot of things for me. You know, so for me, you know, I didn't. My mind, logical mind, did not go into questioning a lot of these things. This was like, wow, this is so easy, simple. So he was with us. He was doing everything along with us. You know, so once again makes it so much more like a friend. And the second thing was, on the second day, Mamu told us, you know what, Babaji is given permission to Mohanji to initiate everybody in this group to Kriya.
Wow.
Can you believe this? For 2 minutes I didn't understand. I said, oh, we're getting Kriya, wow. And then slowly, I mean, even then I didn't understand. It took me a few days to actually understand, oh my God, what did I pray? While I was very excited, I was getting Kriya and all of that. I was like, what did I pray and what happened? Uh, you know, I didn't ask for it, it happened. And what did I tell? What did I tell Babaji? I said, I don't know what's the right thing. Whatever comes, it should come and fall, and I should know from within. So here, there was no. He's not even asking me. He's giving me Kriya. So it was like that was the only time, probably, where the entire bunch was initiated into Kriya. After that, we've had a Kriya process, and Mohanji has been extremely, you know, kind. I've also been volunteering for the Kriya team. So, you know, my journey with Kriya has been is a different story altogether. Now, what happened then is, even so, during that exercise, then there would be lots of satsangs. He would have like 2 hours of satsangs in the morning and 2 hours of satsang in the evening. Okay, and then a lot of I have a lot of questions because my mind is super active. First day I would ask questions, he would answer. First, second day. Third day was like, Preethi Gopalarathnam, again questions. Okay, shoot. And he would, but he was very patient with me. And then the fourth, fifth day, we would discuss questions in our group, and he would pick that up and answer. Nobody's told him this. We would discuss this among ourselves in the group, and he would pick it up and he would answer. Then the sixth, seventh day, I would actually have conversations with Madhu in the room. You know, what if it's like this? What if it's like this? And he would pick that up and answer. And then the ninth, 10th day, I would think and he would answer. I am not kidding you. I thought this man is a mind reader. You know, I was like, oh my God, I have crazy thoughts in my mind. This guy is a mind reader. He's reading my mind. So one time I actually blurted it out to him. I said, how are you doing this? You're reading my mind. And he just, you know, how he has his very warm laugh. He just laughed out loud. And he said, when I say one consciousness, I mean it. And when he said that, I heard him. And along with that, there was this whole experience about how the one consciousness works, you know, because you're thinking, you're talking with somebody, it's one consciousness. You are thinking in your mind, it is one consciousness. And then there was like it was almost like a practical lesson for me about what he's speaking and is available. If I wouldn't have picked it up if I was not able to see it. You know, it's so touch and go that you cannot even pick it up because he's just saying I'm unconsciousness. If you don't you know, dig deep, you won't realize what he means. You won't even realize that you thought about it and the answer came. You know, and for me, since I didn't have it was my own journey and it was my own experience. Because of that, everything was a revelation for me. It was my revelation. I had not, also around that time, there was a lot of turbulence happening. That Kailash trip that I did not go to was the time a lot of people kind of disconnected from Mohanji. There were a lot of issues happening, a lot of mudslinging, and a lot of, a lot of this negative publicity for him. And I was, thankfully, I had not gone for that thing. So, I feel I think the tradition kind of saved me and gave me this. Because now, Meenakshi, if you ask me, if anybody comes and tells me, at that time I didn't have personal experiences, but now I have personal experiences. You know, I now I realize that your connection with the guru is a very unique connection because it reflects your faith and your devotion, and how you go to him is how you will see. And this is not only true with the guru, it's with everything in life. You know, the more I'm beginning to realize that how you are internally and what you are internally and what are you not accepting internally and what are you accepting internally is, and everything, all of that is what is projecting outside. I'm able to catch that now. And it is like that with life itself. Imagine somebody who's so connected to source, like a guru. So that person is like a mirror. So for me, initially, for me, God was a friend, right? For me, I've always, I studied in a convent school, and then I did my graduation in a Hindu college, and then I did my post graduation in a Muslim college. So I don't know, but probably whether it's because of this or not, I've been exposed to a lot of ways of praying to God. And from a very very young age, I've always, when I close my eyes, I don't have a form. For me, God's always been space, and He's always been a space where I could speak my heart out. And He was a friend always. So I mean, whether it was flunking a test and praying to God that somehow make my mom sign that paper, or it was getting caught and getting caught for talking and asked, I mean, and asked, being asked to get out of the class, and principal walking around and saying, please let her not see me today. For me, God's been like somebody I could speak to like this. And even now, to date, God's just now kind of everything. God, talk to God is happening through Mohanji now. So to date, I tell you, I can speak to Mohanji anything I want. I can. I have no barriers when it comes to him. A little bit when he's in his physical form, it probably there is a 20% tone down which happens. But if I have to write to him, if I have to, when I'm talking to him, it's like talking to a friend. Now, why I'm saying this is not to say I have a unique relationship with him, but to say that your relation to God or the concept, or to the guru, they are interchangeable. Is how you see God is how God will project himself or herself to you. If you're looking at God or your guru through doubts, obviously you'll get 10 times more of that. So that understanding and knowledge I have now, and I'm so grateful that I was kind of literally not there at that space until I've had my own experiences with him, because now nothing can shake me. It's unshakable. Faith is unshakable. And now, and I've also seen so many people come and go in life. So many people who connect deeply, and some people leave, some people stay on to kind of reach probably another level in their connection. And I realized that everything is okay, but everything is very individualistic, and everything is all about you, the person. And I would say that's a huge learning, because there was a time there was a point of time that even within the family there were people who were not connected to him, or who had their own doubts about him. But sometimes when it's in the family, it's so much more difficult. But nothing shook, because I had my own experiences. So I'm very grateful to my guru for actually giving me, and also giving me the insight. A lot of time, I see people having great experiences, even around us, but they don't have the, I would call it grace, or I would call it what, I don't know, the sensitivity to pick it up. I'm so grateful that, even there, I think it's grace. And I'm grateful to him that he gave me that thing that I picked up,
See that, right? Yeah.
the experience, yes. And it's so amazing. So after this entire trip, I came back and Mohanji grew on us. So first we had our Shaktipat, and that's another thing I would like to say. We had our Shakti before we had our Shaktipat, we had our we experienced Mohanji's Aarti for the first time. Now in Hindu, in our tradition especially, we are so used to seeing Aarti of people who are dead, either masters who are no longer in the body, or we are used to seeing Aarti of gods. So it's very difficult for you to kind of come around seeing Aarti of a living master. And the best thing is, once again, Meenakshi, Mohanji just lets you be, right? So the first time and the second time, when I saw this aarti that used to happen in the Rishikesh trip, the aarti used to happen, I used to stand behind. And I would be like a lot of bhakti because there's Baba there, and I really liked him a lot. So I said, I mean, but I could never get myself to do that. Third day, I was feeling a little guilty about it. So I went to him and I said, I don't feel like it's not coming from inside to do that aarti for you, and I want to do it only when it is coming from inside. He said, please don't. I don't want all these things. But when people show me love, the way they can only show me love the way they want to express, right? And I can't reject anything. I have to accept everything. So do only what is comfortable to you, Preeti. I have never asked for aartis. I don't want any of these things. Sometimes, it's even a little, when it goes over the top, it can be a little embarrassing for him also, I'm thinking, this thing, my logical mind. But it's extremely accepting of everything. And I've seen that, extremely accepting of everything. And the seventh, eighth day, the ninth day, when the aarti was done, automatically, I moved right in the front. And the last day when we were doing the aarti, when I was doing the aarti, automatically tears came out, and it was very gradual. And he gave me that space, and the organization gives you that space. And if you didn't, and I know that if I didn't want to do it, that would have been okay too, because we also see a lot of foreigners connecting to Mohanji, and not every, I mean, in India we kind of go and touch the feet of the Guru. I mean, there it's more about he's a friend, right? So they go and hug him, and everything is okay with him. So for me, there was absolutely no boxes, and that was what really drew me to him, actually. And if you ask me, I would like to be like that. I would like to be somebody who can't, if you bind me, I'll feel very uncomfortable. So that is where I connected with him very, very deeply, because I felt, this is like something I can really do. I can connect to this person. It's too good to be true. And there was this one experience wherein I was sitting in a friend's house when I was talking. I mean, we were doing some, healing work. When I said everything is fine, I found my guru also. By then I realized Mohanji was my guru. But there's a little bit of, this sadness that I feel, because, all said and done, I asked Babaji, you don't come. At least you bring somebody in your level and come. I know Mohi sent me Mohanji and all of that, but he can somehow at least tell me, no, that listen, see, everybody, a lot of people you've heard, Baba told me in my dream, this is only your guru. This one told me. It would have been nice. I know it. My heart knows it. But it would be really nice to have this experience of,
Confirmation.
Babaji coming and telling you, this is my total drama once again, and total filmy. But at that time, for that space, I was actually very upset, and I burst out crying. And I turned. This person was also connected to Mohanji at that time, and she had this photograph of Mohanji there right next to her. So I turned to this person's, that the photo of Mohanji, and I looked, and I saw that this is really magical. I saw the eyeballs of Mohanji, and within the eyeballs of Mohanji, there was this one half of the eyeball, which became um, Shirdi Sai Baba, and the other part of the eyeball, which actually took the form of Lahari Mahasai. Okay, I was not connected to Lahari Mahasai, but then 10-15 minutes back, I was in that altar of this friend, and the entire Babaji lineage with Lahari Mahasai's photo is what I saw. See, everything is about your experience, right? So I had seen that picture and it had deeply moved me. I had connected to that entire tradition. And then there was a photo of Baba connected to that. And then there was a photo of Mohanji. I had meditated on that, and I came, and then this experience happened for me. And in that split second, his in the eyes, I saw both sides. One side, Larry Mama's eyes, he's got this very cute, like impish smile, kind of a smile. That smile, and it's in the eyeball, unmistakable. Okay, And then I said, okay, I thought, okay, something's happening. I'm hallucinating because I want this experience. That's what they say, right? You want some experience, it happens to you. Your mind projects that to you. Then I looked at the other eyeball and the same thing. And then I started crying. Okay, and my friend is thinking I'm crying because Babaji is not coming, coming in my life. She's trying to say it's okay. Aren't they all the same? I was like, no, and I'm not able to say. I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, yes, yes, they are the same. He's showing me, but I can't open my mouth. Very, very hilarious it was. And after 5 minutes, I explained, I took the picture and I said, what are you seeing? Look into the eyes. And she saw the same thing.
Wow.
And then she's like, said, oh my God. And then I told her, this is why I was crying. She's like, I got scared. I thought you were saying, you're so upset that Mama didn't come to you that you were crying. But at that split second, Meenakshi, my search for Babaji ended. Because for me, at that realization came from within that the tradition is what Mohanji symbolizes. And connecting, to the physical form or the physical personality called Mohanji was probably how in just to put an understanding, if you are in the time of an avatar like a Rama or a Krishna, while you know that this person is like a guide or is an avatar. I'm sure, every time they would go back to treating Krishna like a child. So in life, physical aspects of a guru can be very, dissuading. But if you understand the essence and if you connect to the essence, you realize that you don't need anybody else because the essence is the same. They're just different doors. Open the door, and actually, what you need to connect is to the essence, right? So Mohanji always used to say that half the time you're sitting outside and choosing this door, that door, open all the doors. You're not going inside only, right? That's what's important. Each of these gurus are like doors. You open the door and you have to connect with it. So just take one, whichever you're comfortable, and connect. But if you're lucky to have a living master, it's a different ball game because I can actually speak. I can ask you, and there is a connection and there is a clearing which happens in his presence, which I'm sure all masters you have clearing. You go to Shirdi, the space cleanses you. But here it's easier because there is a physical presence which is there, so it's a lot more easier, I think. And I think that way I've been really, really, really lucky. My search for Babaji ended there. I knew Babaji. For me now, Mohanji is Babaji, Mohanji is Sai Baba, Mohanji is everybody. And you know what? The best thing is when I close my eyes in Shirdi, I feel the same thing that I feel. When I see when I'm with Mohanji. When I close my eyes in a temple, I feel the same thing. There's no forms there. There's just the feeling. There's this whole feeling of you know of the guru element or the love element or the God element. So I would say that Mohanji, started giving me experiences with other masters, not the other way around of getting confused. In fact, my connection with Baba, my connection with Bhagavan Nityananda, all of that kind of grew only after I met Mohanji.
Mm.
And my search for Babaji stopped when I realized that one experience that I had, after which he was not there. I knew that this was it for me, and I've hit jackpot. So I'll be stupid to actually let go of something like this. Yeah.
Beautiful. So Preeti, going back to this question, so of faith, right? So now it's been 6 years that you've known him, right? So the faith is very, very strong. But for lack of a better word, the 2014 phase when, like you said, there's a lot of mudslinging happening on Mohanji. So you're just connected with him, right?
Yes.
So was there any shred of doubt, or was there? Did the faith shake? Well, how was that phase? How did you overcome? I mean, how did you go through that?
Yeah. So for me, for the 2014, thankfully, when I finished my experiences in that trip, and when I came back, Mohanji grew on me. I realized that I saw this huge group of people the first time I met Mohanji. Suddenly, nobody was there in Bombay. So but it didn't. I mean, but because I had my own connection, and it was not based on somebody else, hearing somebody else's experiences or something like that. Nor did I have any too many friends, who were connected to Mohanji. For me, it was purely me and Madhu connecting to Mohanji, and even between Madhu and me, right? We have our own ways that we connect. His connection to Mohanji is very, very different. My connection to Mohanji is very different, and in a way, it's very good. I mean, I'm very grateful, because if at all if somebody is in doubt, the other person can pull them up. Not doubt of the master, doubt of your own self, of the hopelessness, or sometimes if situations are pulling you down and things like that, the other person is always there to pull up. And then the sangha, we have some very, very amazing close friends who are very deeply connected, and we've told each other, that give me one whack in the head if in case, and we when this happens. And also writing your experiences. A lot of times your mind starts giving you doubts. It's very natural for the mind to give you doubts, because everything is, it can happen or it cannot happen, right? You could have just you can just say, I think it was my imagination, or somebody said and I made this my reality. But for me, my experiences have been very unique and very individual. And every time I've the thread has always, I've watched it, and I've also seen experiences are not just experiences. Experiences are something which has any value only if it has a transformation inside of you. Otherwise, how does it matter? When I realized that Mohanji encapsulates all gurus, my faith increased. I realized that, and my connection increased. It became deep. So every experience should have a transformation. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. So what if you see Shiva? So what if you meditate and you had some feeling which you had? What, I mean, you come back and you still have to do your roti kapda makan, children responsibilities. But what was amazing for me is that when I had my first Shaktipat, once again, mind has experiences. So I'm thinking I'll go there, and Monji's hand will touch my head, and then my probably 1,000 petal lotus will bloom, and I'll probably even levitate. All kinds of I'm a drama queen, I guess. I should accept that about myself. My gurus told me that, just accept yourself as you are. So I mean, had all these experiences in life, and I mean expectations in life, and my first Shaktipat was, to me, like normal. He kept his lair, he kept his this thing. It was very normal. I felt good. It was like a blessing, and that's it. Then I'm like, eh? Every time you have expected, like how the first time I had met Mohanji, I had this expectation like that. So I was like, oh, okay. And then I came, and then after some time, Madhu also came. So then I asked Madhu, did you feel anything? He said, no, but I felt calm. I was like, okay, I'm not like so bad that I've not felt anything at all. Even he didn't feel anything. But after a week, after 2 weeks, after 3 weeks, there was a certain calmness that I could see not only in myself, but also in Madhu. It's easier in Madhu because he's basically a lot more calm than I am. But normal things would trigger me. Like, I'm kind of a little volatile, because when you're emotional, you can be a little volatile. So normal things happening, made troubling you, somebody saying something, and normally my fuse would have gone, and I'm realizing that it's not bothering me as much, especially with the whole short fuse. It was not bothering me that much. And I'm realizing that situations are happening as it is. Nothing's changed. It's the biggest, like how you have expectations. I've had expectations. The biggest expectation thing is like once Guru comes, enters your life, happens, and then your life is like, full rose petals. No, life is exactly like how it is before, if not a little more intense. Because, I'll tell you why. Because why a little later. Let me just complete this line of thought. So what happens is my life has been as turbulent, or however it is. My life has just been the same, but the way I react to life, I have noticed that it has changed. So I've not done it on my own. It's not something that I've consciously changed. It's happened automatically. I've actually been as surprised, to see, actually I'm not reacting this way. So a transformation is something which when it happens automatically. So I think for any spiritual aspirant or somebody who's connected to the guru or who wants to see if they are in the path, you need to catch not the various states or the experiences that you've had, but more about what's transformed inside of you. And because the transformation stays with you, but that whole buzzing feeling, that whole feeling of euphoria, they're all pretty temporary, right? But a transformation always stays with you. So this is something which he's taught me early on, and I've had once again the grace to catch it. So every time, every step with Kailash, similarly, there have been when our entire group went to Kailash, around 80 of us, almost 75 of them were able to manage it. There were some who were not able to manage it. But once again, my experience has been amazing. It has been, and it's been like really amazing. Now, will I go with my experience or will I go with somebody else's experience? You need to understand that we're all walking individual karmic, not to say that their experience was wrong. They have a different karmic agenda. Mine is different, but I'm very clear about mine. He's the guru, and I'm going to be an idiotic person. It's like a fool to you actually lose something that you have. Yeah, so that's how it's been for me. I've had a lot of transformations, Meenakshi, and I still have a long way to go. But every time I go forward and I have one, and then there's a whole lot of other things which is opening up. All I have to do is look back. Where I was to now is sea change. It's huge. So I think that's what matters. We're all in our own individual journey.
Yeah, so going back to your line of thought, like you said, so with the entry of a guru, things don't, it's not like everything is rosy, right?
Correct.
So why do you say that it gets intense? I mean, why?
So actually, there are various gurus. This is my understanding. There are, every guru is the same. As I said, there are various doors, right? So every guru is unique, and every guru has a purpose. There is a purpose why consciousness is taken a form, and every guru works to achieve a purpose. So one of the first things Mohanji taught me, which also once again makes it so much more enduring, is like never speak bad about not only your guru but any guru, because even if for a person, for a moment, if that if that being is actually a guru, a guru is selfless, right? He's finished. His agenda in this world is over. He's just here to help as many souls as possible. So somebody as pure and innocent as that, if we because of our ignorance kind of mudsling or pull down, the karmic implication of that is like so much more. It's just imagine, like a small child who's like, reaching out to you thinking, because you want help, you kind of pull that person down into muddy water. That the implication of that in your own karmic record is huge. And I've seen that, and also all gurus for that matter have gone through this karmic mudslinging and all of that. But I mean, that is something I've realized that early in life, and that's another reason why my connection with him is that strong. I mean, and I've lost your question. What was your question?
Yeah. So with the guru entering your life, why does it get intense? Why doesn't it get easy?
Yeah. So when a guru enters your life, what happens is, as I said, different masters have different reasons why they are there. And Mohanji has been very clear about his agenda. His agenda is just to liberate as many people, is to take as many people as possible to liberation. So there are gurus who are there to give you a better life, to take you to a path, to there are different gurus with different purposes, and some of them are only for Sanatan Dharma, to uplift the Sanatan Dharma. Somebody is for compassion, bringing compassion into the world. So every guru has a purpose, and Mohanji's purpose is liberation. His kind of What is liberation? Not liberation from your mind. Any soul wants it. What's the eligibility? You want it. So every single person who connects to him and who connects deeply would have in some, either in this lifetime or a previous lifetime, had a serious, like how I've prayed, with earnestness, would have had a call or would have had a deep desire for, connecting and liberating themselves. So that's his purpose. Now, what do we mean? Sometimes we ask things without realizing what's the meaning of it, right? So, what do you mean by actually, by liberating yourself from your mind? That means less. Monji explains this very beautifully. He says, like, when you leave, you have to have as less baggage as possible. So, the lesser the baggage, the easier it is for you to transit and move on. The more the baggage, the more you will lug around and you come back to exhaust that baggage that you have. So for if you connected to him, your agenda is to reduce your karmic baggage. And so, what's probably possible for you in a lifetime or 2, 3 lifetimes, for you to slowly look at it and clear that up, probably will be intensified to a few days.
Mm.
And that can be intense for you.
Yeah.
But that's like when you see the minuscule of it and compared to a whole lifetime of it. And I've seen this, Meenakshi. There have been times in my life when I've gone through extremely, in the last few years, extremely trying times. Whether it is with family members, health issues, or with our own financial issues, it's been really a roller coaster ride. But the beauty of this is, I see this as, imagine this sea, and imagine that you are with a life jacket. You're like, or you're like struggling in the sea. There are these huge tidal waves which kind of come. So you with your limited mind is like preparing yourself. There's fear, there is, a lot of emotional appealing, and you're thinking you have to go and climb and jump on top of the tiger, you're bracing yourself and all. And you close your eyes and you don't realize that there is this huge hand which comes and picks you up. The wave passes by and then drops you back. So is it intense? Yes. Why is it intense? Because you think you have to cross that wave which is coming. But if you start watching the first time, the second time, you start realizing, hey, it's a little too easy. I know it's intense. There are a lot of tidal waves coming, but it's been I'm like literally like a surfer, surfing the tidal waves. And then you start opening your eyes and realize this whole huge grace called umbrella kind of a thing, which is like literally pulling you up. The whole thing passes by and puts you down. And then you start actually saying, okay, bring it on. It's difficult. And when it comes, it is. And it needs a lot of sadhana. It needs a lot of connection to the guru. It needs a lot of connection to the sangha, people who are like-minded, to kind of to remind you that, hey, there is a hand which will come, don't worry, you're not doing anything. And then the mind stops. So the suffering and the pain is actually mind created, because you think you're doing the whole thing. And when you start realizing, I'm not saying when you start believing, I'm saying you start realizing, because you realize it from your own personal experiences. You need to catch it. And I've caught it so many times. When you start realizing that you are not actually surfing, there's this whole hand which comes, and it's almost like a game. Huge things come, and then there's a hand which pulls you up and puts you back down. You start enjoying it. It's a lot more. If there is 100% fear, there is like only 5-10% fear, until because it's a habit. After some time, you ride through it. That's the grace. That hand is why I'm saying it's a jackpot, and I'll be really stupid to actually leave something like this.
True. Absolutely agree with you. So, Preethi, going back to my introduction where I said, you normally think of spiritual people to be very serious, but there's something loads of fun about you, like whatever you do, right? Through the day, I know you're packed, right? And there are so many activities with the Mohanji family that you're involved in, and you are at it with all your heart and soul. I can see that. And somewhere you are the one who ties. So anytime somebody's lagging off somewhere, not happening, you are there just with that push or you create that forum for people to, actually be of help to others. And that's amazing, right? Not everybody does that. So you do early birds club, and then you in terms of the Kriya group and all, you're there. You do multiple things through the day. I'm not even able to put it together, but you do all of that. But it's with lot of fun. I still remember for Shivratri, we were all sitting the eclipse, right? Sadhana, we were all sitting. I was wondering how are we going to do that. It was like a breeze. It's like probably like you or like Preethi Di, managing it with so much fun, engaging, keeping everybody involved. How do you do that? I mean, I know that you have that sanctity in your mind. So, but in your own way, you bring that fun element and you are always there to motivate people. So how do you mix the serious and the fun stuff and make it more doable, or, probably pegging people to do more, and not as an activity, but genuinely wanting to help and give back to the society sorts?
Meenakshi, I'm actually literally cringing because I know 5 things, 10 things I have not been doing very well. But having said that, thank you. You've been very kind. But I'll tell you something. This is how, if you're doing some work for the foundation, especially if you've had the chance to connect with Mohanji, this is exactly how he is. You know what he says? He says, you have your strengths, you have your weakness, right? There are certain things that, I'm not great at. I'm not very disciplined. That's, if I was disciplined, I would have not been the clown in my school. Accept your weakness first of all, and don't try to, constantly work on it, because constantly working on it's not, transformations don't happen like that, right? So first thing that you need to do is you need to accept your weakness. And the second thing that you need to do is understand where your strengths are and work on your strengths. So if you see me, I've always liked the juice in life. I've always liked the fun in life. So in everything you can bring a fun element and make it really engaging. So that's how I see life. That's my strength, and that's what I do. That's why it's possible for me to kind of, in the few things also, that Monju also makes sure that I get things where I can be myself. So that's also divinely ordained. Similarly, if you see somebody else, in the community where they're working, if they're like a lot more serious, they're like more structured, somehow they miraculously end up in positions where their strengths are like completely put to use. Like if you see my husband, for example, Madhu's in the space where he's extremely structured. I mean, all his project management skills and all his things, everything's been put to use. I mean, I would be lousy in his job. He'd be lousy in my job, I'm sure. I can say that now. So similarly, if you see somebody else like a Preethi Di, who's like so emotional, her bhav and bhakti is like that, so she connects like that. So I think this is what once again I would say, this is something which we've imbibed from the guru. Accept your weaknesses and set it aside, because unless you accept it, otherwise you're chasing it all the time. For me, the longest time I was trying to be like a Madhu, or like somebody who is structured, like somebody who is like taking life seriously. And there was a span of time in my life when I actually acted like that. But you can't keep up with something which you're acting, right? It has to be spontaneous for you, for you to get it. So with Mohanji, I realized that the joy is in being yourself. The joy is in, whatever you want to do it being yourself. 100% be yourself and do it. And whatever is your strength, work on that, in that work. So I think that's why it's effortless, Meenakshi. That's exactly how Mohanji treats us. So we're just passing it along, I guess. And every time I feel, oh my God, how will I deal with this? I just have to look at him. And he says this one very interesting thing. He says, if there's something that you can do in the next 10 minutes, don't postpone it, do it. If a thing sits in your table, the first thing that you need to do is clear your table. And I'm not able to do it. I've accepted that some of this is my weakness. So I'll have to find out other ways to kind of work around it, which probably is my strength. Like probably get somebody who is good, who will be able to be more focused and structured to do such tasks and to help in such tasks and work together as a team. So this will not happen if you don't accept your weakness. If I took it up that I have to be doing all the 3 times Kriya with the group and things like that. It will not happen because first I am not, it's not in me. But another thing Mohanji does is like when he gives you something, he gives you, along with the responsibility, he gives you complete freedom. He doesn't own anything. The idea of EBC came. He said here, he called a few of us and said, this is the idea, run it. If you're stuck anywhere, come to me. There's absolutely no ownership. If you see Amu Care today, no ownership. Everything, he's an enabler, and then it happens on its own. And that's why the foundation is the way it is. And I'm seeing it. And he says this too, and I've seen it too. So all you need to do is mimic it. Start something, do what you're good at, find others or ask others if they can help, and do it together. Then it works. It's beautiful, no? I mean, I feel like shocked every time. It's not like, and I don't personally believe I do anything. It's just the whole platform and the grace which flows. It's amazing. I'm as awestruck as you are. Oh my God, like that.
Because honestly, I see you through the day, and like I said in the beginning, right? I'm like, oh my God, where on earth does this woman have the time for all this? Especially, I know with elders in the house, with children. How are you managing? And then you're saying kids are having exams. I'm like, oh my God, how?
No, it seems pretty effortless because you realize that, somehow miraculously things end up like it's that hand, Meenakshi. Everywhere I think I have a problem. I think there is a exam, and I think I have to sit with the children to study. And then I realize they're anyway doing it on their own. And then, parents end up, you feel that you have to take them. Things just fall into place on its own. So initially, there's a lot of mind thing. You feel like really worried. You feel stretched. You feel pressurized, and all of that. After some time, you see the way the hand plays, and then that's when something comes to me. While my mind sometimes says one more job, but then I know that if it's coming to me, it'll also be done. If I don't need to do it, it'll be done. So I take it on, and it happens like that. Believe me, you need to. I'm sure when you work with Amukar, you'll realize it yourself. You start with thinking, oh my God, where the funds going to come, and then miraculously huge projects happen step by step. It's not like right at the beginning you know what's going to happen, but it happens step by step, and that's the same everywhere.
Yeah, and actually, when whenever you're with Mohanji, like you said, he grows on you, right? If you come back after retreat or something, you're just automatically just thinking about him.
Yeah.
Just thinking, the words keep echoing, and very simple stuff, right? Like I said in the beginning, there are no jargons, there's nothing that he imposes on you. It's just normal day-to-day life,
It's just
right?
practical. I wouldn't even call it
Yeah,
spiritual,
yeah,
because
exactly.
if you ask him what is spiritual, he says be natural. That's spiritual. Being your natural self is spiritual. It's so simple, but it's so difficult because you end up thinking this is right, this is wrong, this is how I should be, this is how I should not be, and just cut it all off. Just cut it all off. Be yourself. What if you don't need to be all those things that you've told yourself you should be, and just be yourself? It sounds so simple, but it's so difficult.
So that's great. I think there are a lot of people who are so naturally drawn to him, not because he's uh, you know has some powers or for whatever matter. Even he
I
doesn't
don't
even
think
say that I'm not a guru.
he's
Yeah,
worried at all.
yeah.
People like me would probably tell you this because we've like picked it through the middle, and we've picked it in our lives. But if you asked him, he'll be like, "Who said I'm enlightened?" When
Yeah.
somebody asked him, "How does it feel to be enlightened?" He said, "Who enlightened me? I'm not enlightened."
Yeah,
He
so the ease with yeah,
he says,
yeah,
"You all think I'm a guru, so I'm playing that role."
exactly, exactly. And you see him and you just wish hope the entire world was like this, right? So simple, no expectations, no baggage. And it's very easy to be around him. You are at peace, nobody is judging you and you are what you are. And like you said, he loves you exactly the way you are, not wanting to change. Yeah. So that's amazing, amazing. What are your parting thoughts, Preeti?
My parting thoughts would be,
If you had to like crunch the entire journey so far.
my biggest learning, with Mohanji, is about, stop going outside to find liberation. or to stop doing things so that you can achieve some state. That's what I thought it was. And when I met him, I realized it's about finding yourself, exactly who you are, and completely be comfortable, in your skin. It sounds simple, but it is not at all simple. Because when you have to be comfortable in your skin, you have to be comfortable with your positives, with probably a dimple that you have in your cheek. You should be comfortable with the mole that you have in your cheek too, and completely comfortable and natural, just the way you are, no pretenses. And also asking yourself at every time, what more can you do to the world? And it need not be something big. Small things that you can do one step at a time is still okay. It's about, for me, that's like accepting yourself 100% is my biggest take home from my guru. And if I can do that in this lifetime, I think I've arrived.
You're almost there, I'm sure.
I have a long way to go. Meenakshi, you've been very kind, but I know that I'm probably in the right path. Now, whether the path's going to have a lot of winding stuff in front of me, or whether it's going to be like one straight path, whether it's going to be a long journey ahead or a short one, it actually doesn't matter. If in case you are able to have fun, if you're comfortable with yourself, you'll have fun. And if you realize that there is no difficult time, or because if you realize that this whole surrender to the hand which holds you, every time there is an issue, when you're able to see that, you realize whatever happens, you can ride through it, you can surf through life. Then it becomes fun. All you have to do is have fun. So many of Mohanji's programs I've gone to, people come expecting him to have these, throw these insights and these deep thoughts, and he makes people laugh like crazy. Like he keeps pulling all our legs, and he makes fun of us all the time, and just makes people laugh all the time. And then you're like thinking, my God, all these guys have come here to hear him talk and they're laughing. But you can see the lightness, when they come and when they're going back after that half an hour of laughing.
Steps, yes.
Yes, so much of clarity they go back in. So I've also noticed that uh, Monji's biggest, I think his biggest strength is just by him being in your life. Forget physical presence. You being open to him in your life, just by him being in your life, there is, he starts transforming you. It's a reality. I have seen it, and I have felt it. And even not only for you, it's when he's connecting you, he's connecting your entire family. So it's a unit. Everything is connected, right? So and I've seen people come. I've seen people who are deeply connected to him come speak to him, go. I've seen people who are not at all connected to him, who are just checking him out, come speak to him, go. I've seen people who actually abused him quite a bit, come speak to him, go. But he's been always the same. So I would like to, my parting thing would be like to be. I would aim to work towards being Mohanji, or being like Mohanji. I think that's one thing I would. I mean, it's a tall order, it's a tall aim, but that's an aim that would make my life worth it.
And very much doable, I think. Yeah. If he can, I think all of us certainly can.
That's the other thing, right? Because he's so down to earth, it's also achievable. If he was up there on that wall, high above, and doing things that is extremely difficult for me to do, it would have been difficult. But when I see him exactly following the teachings that he tells, he says, I have certain weaknesses, I've seen him laugh at himself. So there's this one particular, I'm just sharing this only so that you understand how enduring he is. There was this one thing where he sang a song. Somebody asked him to sing a mantra, he sang, and then they replayed it, and he said, who is this buffalo? That's the amount of, we all were like shocked, and we were laughing, we were in splits. And that's the amount of insignificance he practices. And then here, we are like trying to say, I've achieved something in life, I am this, I am that. And there's a master who's like completely achieved the only thing which is important, which is mastering the mind, saying, making fun of himself. Then, it's like, forget it, man, don't worry about anything, just be yourself, have fun in life. And in the process, everything happens
Yeah.
because of the Guru's grace.
Yes. Yes. That beautifully put, Preeti.
Thank you so much, Meenakshi. I've had an amazing time, literally going down memory lane with you. And you've been an amazing host. Thank you so much for all the questions that you've asked also. It actually
Right.
got me to think of a lot of things in the right perspective.
Likewise, and thank you so much for taking us on this journey. Literally, like I said, you're such a beautiful storyteller. I could actually visualize all those scenes. There were there were times I could hear Mohanji actually say that the way he would have laughed or giggled. I could so hear that. So thank you so much for the beautiful insights, and the journey certainly continues. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you so much. Lots of love.
Lots of love to you, Preeti.